Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier's in the mix to be the next Giants head coach. Reportedly going to have an in-person interview with GM Joe Schoen ahead of having a virtual interview from before that. Schoen spent the past 5 years as the right-hand man of Bills GM Brandon Beane. No surprise, Frazier as well as fellow OC Brian Daboll on the Giants list. The coaching carousel looks like this. We had 2 vacancies filled yesterday. Earlier on Thursday, it was Nathaniel Hackett coming from Green Bay to replace Vic Fangio in Denver. Then shortly after, the Bears made their move with defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus from Indianapolis coming to Chicago to take over for Matt Nagy. All right, and with that, let's welcome in senior NFL reporter Jonathan Jones. JJ, what's the latest on the Giants coaching search at the moment?
So, Tommy, you mentioned it. Leslie Frazier going to be in the building there with the New York Giants. This is the final second round of interviews for the Giants. And I'm told that after this interview, the Giants could very well make a decision on it as early as Friday night. Obviously, you'd have to figure out what the contract situation is. That could bleed into Saturday. But the Giants certainly want to have this wrapped up by, I believe, Saturday night, maybe even beat the blizzard that's on its way to the New York area. So now we have the when. Obviously, we want to know the who here. And right now, it certainly appears that it is between Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll and former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores. I'm told that Brian Flores, who was in the building yesterday, impressed folks with his answers to the tough questions that they had for him about what happened during his tenure with the Miami Dolphins, where he could go 4-2 against the New England Patriots, but then ultimately, and 2 winning seasons, but then ultimately, of course, be fired. And we've heard about his poor interpersonal skills and that reputation. Is that something the Giants necessarily want to bring on, having just experienced Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman there? That is a big question that the Giants have to figure out for themselves. But I do know that Brian Daboll has impressed the Giants as well. He has worked with Joe Schoen, as you mentioned, for years. Dan Quinn, of course, pulled himself out of the conversation yesterday. And then, of course, they interviewed Patrick Graham, their current defensive coordinator, earlier this week as well. So as it stands right now, it does appear that it is between Brian Daboll and Brian Flores for the head coach job of the New York Giants, and that is something that could be decided as early as tonight. All
right, we'll look for that weekend hiring. That's Jonathan Jones, our senior NFL reporter, with the very latest on the Giants coaching search heading into the weekend. JJ, thank you very much. We talked about a lot of things on the Pick Six podcast with host Will Brinson, Ryan Wilson, and John Breach on Thursday about not only the head coaches that were hired, but also Big Ben Roethlisberger announcing his retirement officially after 18 years, did so on social media Thursday morning.